Above the scorching desert, a lone shape cut through the evening sky. The sound of its rotors echoed low across the landscape. Not random noise, not just a helicopter. It was a sign that something dangerous had arrived. That day, a routine mission changed into a one-sided fight that left a lasting mark on modern combat history. Enemy forces did not expect resistance from the air. Their convoy moved confidently across an open corridor with armored vehicles and troop carriers. They believed the area was clear. But as the Apache rose from behind a ridge, it was clear this would not be a simple advance. What they faced was not an ordinary aircraft. It was a machine built for destruction. And it was ready. The AH-64 Apache is not meant to carry soldiers or drop bombs from high altitude. It exists for one reason: to hunt and eliminate anything that poses a threat. Its thermal sensors can see through smoke and darkness. Its advanced weapons can track and strike targets with precision. On that mission, it flew alone. The pilot received a report from ground forces. A hostile convoy was approaching fast, with heavy firepower. No other aircraft were nearby. There was no time to wait. The Apache locked its course and moved in. Within minutes, the battlefield shifted. One by one, the enemy vehicles were taken out. Rockets slammed into the lead trucks. The 30mm cannon swept across the formation, tearing through armor. Some vehicles tried to turn back. Others were caught in the open. Every shot was deliberate. Every target was hit. The entire convoy began to break apart. At the operations center, analysts watched the feed as heat signatures disappeared from the screen. What stood out most was that this entire engagement was being handled by a single helicopter. No backup. No drones. Just one aircraft, making every round count. Defense analysts have long called the Apache one of the most lethal helicopters ever made. Military writer Caleb Larson noted that its ability to track and destroy multiple targets at once gives it an unmatched presence on the battlefield. It does not just support troops, it dominates areas others avoid. In a separate report, former Marine and defense expert Dakota Wood wrote that the Apache brings more than firepower. It brings pressure. Its speed, its targeting systems, and its rugged frame allow it to survive direct hits and keep fighting. That makes it more than a weapon. It becomes a force multiplier. For many enemy fighters, the presence of an Apache is enough to stop an operation before it begins. U.S. Ground units have recorded several instances where opposition forces abandoned their vehicles and positions after hearing that an Apache was nearby. In captured communications, the helicopter was often described as a shadow that brought death with it. Not rumor, not legend, but real reactions based on real encounters. Victory is not always about numbers. It is about timing, awareness, and control. On that day, the Apache showed what happens when one machine and one pilot take full command of the air. No friendly forces were harmed. No enemy unit passed the line they tried to cross. When the helicopter returned to base, its fuel was low. Its weapons were nearly empty, but the job was done. That convoy was gone. Not because of luck, but because the aircraft was made for moments like this. The Apache does not win because it looks dangerous. It wins because it is dangerous. Built to seek, built to strike, built to remind anyone watching that the sky does not belong to everyone. It belongs to whoever holds it first. The night the Apache went silent and still dominated the fight. It was past midnight when the call went out. A small team of American infantry had walked into an ambush deep in Kunar province. They were pinned down, running low on ammunition, and separated from extraction by steep terrain. Air support was requested immediately. Only one asset was close enough to respond: an Apache AH-64. Flying low and nearly out of fuel, it diverted instantly. What happened next would become a textbook case of how one helicopter could shift the course of a ground engagement even without firing a single missile. The Apache crew arrived within minutes, but there was a complication. Their targeting systems had degraded during an earlier dust storm. Night optics were flickering. Weapon status was green, but visibility was poor. Still, they pressed on. Hovering just above the ridgeline, the gunner used the remaining infrared to scan for movement. Faint thermal signatures were picked up behind rock formations. The pilot adjusted position without gaining altitude, staying beneath the enemy's line of sight. The mere presence of the Apache changed the tempo. Enemy fire slowed. American troops on the ground regained mobility. From overhead, the crew marked enemy locations using the onboard laser pointer. Ground troops coordinated with the beam, directing fire more accurately. The Apache itself remained mostly silent, holding its missiles, conserving its chain gun, acting as an airborne scout rather than a strike platform. But its shadow broke the enemy's plan. Military analyst Paul Scharr once noted that the most dangerous aircraft on the battlefield is not always the one that fires the most. It is the one that sees first, moves fastest, and forces the enemy to react. The Apache could have launched ordnance blindly. Instead, it waited, it watched, it chose timing over impulse. That decision saved the lives of multiple U.S. soldiers and avoided unnecessary civilian damage in nearby homes. By dawn, the infantry team was extracted. No American fatalities. The enemy had retreated back into the hills, leaving behind weapons, gear, and traces of wounded fighters. Intercepted enemy chatter from the same night revealed something telling. One voice, likely a local commander, said they could fight the soldiers but not the Shadow Bird. That was how they described the Apache. The Shadow Bird, a name given not for what it did, but for what it might do. In regions like Kunar and Helmand, local fighters would often move in tight formations until they heard the Apache's engines. Then they dispersed. The sound was enough. They had learned that if you waited too long to move, you would not move again. The Apache is built to fly under pressure. Dual engines, armored cockpits, redundant flight controls, all designed with the understanding that it would take fire, sometimes more than once. During one mission in 2006, an Apache in eastern Afghanistan took 3 direct hits from heavy machine gun fire. Its tail assembly was compromised, its instruments went dark, but the crew used manual control to land safely behind friendly lines. That airframe was later repaired and returned to service. Even after it leaves the sky, the presence of the Apache does not fade. Local populations remember its silhouette. Enemy combatants remember what happened the last time they stood in open terrain. It is not just a helicopter. It is a presence, a warning, a ghost in the sky.